You don't get taken down by enemies. You get taken down by conversations. People think the biggest danger in the game comes from somebody hating on you, somebody pulling up, somebody making a move. But sometimes that's not how it ends. Sometimes nobody has to shoot. Nobody has to rush you. Nobody has to do anything dramatic. All it takes is a conversation. One interview, one statement, one person trying to save themselves, one person trying to cut a deal, one person saying your name when they feel pressure, and before you know it, the walls start closing in. During the crack era, people talk about the violence, they talk about the money, they talk about the cars and the lifestyle, but conversations move just as much weight. When drug dealers got locked up, investigators didn't stop at the arrest. They started asking questions. Interviews became leverage. People who supplied them became exposed too. Suppliers got caught in the same net, and suddenly information became currency. That's something people underestimate. When pressure hits, people start remembering details they never thought mattered. Who supplied who moved what, who was seen where, who drove what car, who was at which club, who was spending. And this is where the danger became invisible, because being flashy wasn't just about looking successful, it was about creating witnesses. Every nice car, every piece of jewelry, every woman people saw you with, every club appearance, every car wash stop, every girlfriend's house people knew you stayed at, every neighborhood somebody saw you in. People talk, and before you realize it, the city becomes a map of your movements. Yeah, I saw him over there. He was riding that. He was spending like this. He was connected to them. That information travels farther than people think. And in that era, attention wasn't always admiration. It became documentation. You start realizing people weren't only watching because they liked what they saw. Some were watching because they were gathering pieces of a story. History has shown this wasn't unique to street life either. Law enforcement built major cases across organized crime by flipping people, collecting cooperation, and turning conversations into evidence. Some of the most powerful criminal organizations in American history didn't collapse because somebody finally outshot them. They collapsed because somebody started talking. That's one of the reasons the crack epidemic became so devastating beyond addiction and violence. Crack exploded into communities across America in the 1980s and early 1990s and changed neighborhoods, policing, incarceration, politics, and economics in ways people still feel today. Entire networks formed fast, and when pressure came back down, those same networks became sources of information. The people closest to operations often knew the most, and the people closest to operations were usually the ones getting questioned first. That's the part people miss. Everybody remembers the headlines, but behind every headline, there were conversations nobody saw. Phone calls, interviews, deals, rumors, statements. One conversation could reshape an entire operation. And when you look back, you realize sometimes the game wasn't lost in the streets. It was lost in what people said after the fact. That's why reflection matters. You can move smart, you can make money, you can stay dangerous. But if your life becomes visible enough, people start connecting dots. And once enough conversations line up, the story starts writing itself. That's something I learned watching how fast information moved back then. Not everything that looked powerful stayed protected, because visibility creates exposure, and exposure creates conversations. If you've been following this channel, you know these aren't just theories. I've spent time studying, documenting, and telling stories from this era because these lessons don't disappear when the decade ends. There's a reason I wrote Everybody Wants Some, because history is more than the money and the cars. It's the people, the decisions, the consequences, and the moments people never talk about until it's too late. If you want the deeper stories behind how those worlds moved and how conversations became just as dangerous as enemies, the book is where I put those layers. Because sometimes the real warning isn't who's coming for you. Sometimes it's who's talking. And by the time you hear the conversation, it's already too late.